friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works workshop. The noise you hear in the background is probably my wife doing the weed eating. She likes to do that kind of stuff. Trust me, I'm not kidding. Well, this is a kind of a little conglomeration video. I've received a lot of wonderful gifts from a lot of wonderful viewers. And so I'm just gonna tack that onto the end here. But we're gonna start off with a honeydew project just to show you a different side of things here on the farm and what I end up doing on a daily basis and why I can't get to all my instruments and etc. and so forth. And if I was 10 people, we'd all be busy. So hope you enjoy it. No work on instruments in this video, just so you know. This is honeydew projects. Just thought I'd share with you some of the things that I get to do for my honey. Might be a little different than some of you. Well, the first one's not too bad, but she has a camping horse trailer, and the plug that goes from the camper part to the electrical connection at the campground, this plug has seen its better days, as you can see. This one here is, you can tell it's gotten hot or something, and this is moved and it's not in alignment anymore, and the whole end is loose, and so, I was given my marching orders to fix this. And rather than just cut it off, because these cords are so expensive and they're never long enough, so I'm going to try to, save as much of it as I can, and that's why I'm bothering to take off this tape, which takes a little bit longer. Why is it that a plug like this, whenever you need to plug in a camper, is always 6 inches too short? I don't see a good way to get the rest of that apart unless I just cut it. I think what I'll do is, just even to save these last couple of inches, I think I'll just take it in there to my metal bandsaw and just saw it right across here, and that'll give me just that much more length. Not that it's that much, but every little bit counts on these things. And for those two doubting Thomases that were out there about cutting that off on the bandsaw, it cut it off slick as snot on a doorknob. And it saved at least a good inch of cable, which every inch of this makes a difference. It's expensive stuff, big heavy copper cable. And like I said, for the length more than anything. So now we're going to analyze this new weird contraption, which I can't imagine this being any better than what she's got, to be honest. This thing looks cheap to me, but it cost 25 bucks, I think she said. They make this plastic these days where you can't even break it at all, but if you buy a plastic toy, it breaks in about 2 seconds. It's amazing. A throwaway bag, you can't even tear it, and yet a plastic toy that a child will be playing with will break in the first 5 seconds. It looks like this unfolds, and it looks like I have to start figuring out how to get all these parts in here, and maybe they've got directions, which I am a direction reader typically, or let me rephrase that, I'm a picture looker. I don't necessarily read the directions. Hopefully there's a picture. As long as I can see how it's put together, I'm good to go. Looks to me like they connect it before they put it in here. Trying to see about how far they leave the rubber insulation on there. It looks like I might need to cut off just another 1/8 of an inch of insulation to make this work. It's showing it wiring 2 different ways. I'm going to have to read the directions, because apparently the reason they have it turned 2 different ways, maybe it's got something to do with 110 and 220 or something like that, because they're not showing the differences. So I don't know. Oh, okay, I see it. We've got the one down below here. This has different ends. Ours has the ends that fit the bottom picture. Can't imagine why the ends would make any difference which way you turn the screw, but anyway. Okay. Just follow the bottom picture and we're home free, right? Well, I went ahead and stripped these all off with the wire stripper here. I cut back a little bit more insulation. I didn't go quite to their extreme. They show it pretty far back, and when I test that, that's going to put the rubber outside of this, and I really want the rubber inside this because that's the problem. These things wiggle back and forth right there at that joint, and I want to find a way to somehow keep the rubber inside of here to make it much stronger so that the rubber is inside the case. I don't know if I can do that or not. I may end up having to punt on this and back up and do it over, but I'm going to try it that way first because I really think that makes a lot more sense. We'll see though. These designers that sit at their desk and design this stuff, they don't have a clue how to actually use it. And so I'm trying to install it approximately the way it's going to go into the plug. In other words, I'm trying to point the blades in the direction they're going to go. It's an awkward cord to hold on to because it's very heavy. Trying to tighten it down really good and tight too, because loose connections is what creates heat. Twisting up the pairs real good and tight. And according to this goes this way, and the wire goes in this way according to this, although it would fit much better on the bottom side. There's more room on the bottom, but if you put it on the bottom you'd have to turn this way so that well, I don't know. I'm going to do it. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I'm going to put it in on the bottom and have my wire turned the wrong way in this case, but we'll see. Because one way the screw head pulls the wire in, the other way it pulls it out. So I'm going to put it in the way it pulls it in, because I know better than to have it the other way. And by the way, this one had the silver screw. It was supposed to have the white wire, and that's why I did it that way. And in the picture you can see it's the white wire on that side, and the green wire is the, I guess you'd say, is the ground. This is the neutral. This is the hot wire here. So we're just about to get there. And this one in the picture goes this way, and so this would have to go in across the top for it to pull in. Got them as tight as they can be. And it says insert these, and I've already tried inserting them and they don't want to go, so I can't even imagine getting them in there, but looks like I'm a hair short. Doggone it. Well, shoot. That kind of sucks. I'm going to have to cut some off of these to make them go up in there further. To get this one up in there. Still a lot shorter than they said, but it's going to have to be done to make it work. Oh well, back up and punt. I figured that would probably happen. I thought it had enough there allowed for it, but it isn't. It's close, but it's not good enough. Well, I, more or less lengthened these just a little bit more. I'm hoping they'll fit now. Again, I want to keep that rubber as long as I can keep it up inside the thing. And then again, I may run into a different roadblock. It may not work. So I'm trying because I know what I want. Actually going in there pretty well. And then this little rubber, this piece, this side says greater than 70.70 inches, and that's about what we're dealing with here, I think. It's just about that. So I have a feeling it's going to need that side, although I could be wrong. That worked just fine. That kept that rubber down inside there, and so that's pressing on the rubber, not on just the wires. Had I cut it the way they said in the instructions, this rubber would have been back here, and it would have just been pressing on the wires, which is never very strong. This is way stronger. So I'm happy with the way that turned out. I hope that it's going to work. Seems really solid. So, well, that's honeydew list item number 1. I'm just getting started, I think. Making sure that's really tight. I wish there was some extension on this, you know, that would come out of here and make that really strong. I wish there was something I could do to make that, because this is where they fail, right here at this connection. They get bent. Like, inevitably, when you plug it in, it'll have to be plugged in like this and let the weight of the cord hang down on this. That's the problem with these things. Every time you go to someplace, that's the way the darn things are installed. And so they're, you know, you have to use the plug upside down from the way it's intended. Well, here's the other end of that same cable. She's not happy with this connection either because, again, the rubber is not inside. You know, it's got the wires exposed, just like I was telling you. It's not a good way to do it. So I'm going to take this apart, see if I can improve this one. At least we didn't have to buy this one. Of course, that's going to shorten it another inch or something, but again, you know, you got to do what you got to do. So we'll take her apart and see what happens. This is just the grip on it. So I've got that pretty loose. Looks like we have to take this end off to get... Oh, those are the either double start or triple start threads. Look how fast they come out. Pretty neat. I like those kinds of threads. Really fast. You can see they lift just with one turn. They come right out. That's from, if you look at those threads up close, they start twice or maybe even 3 times. I'm not sure on these without looking. I can see why they did what they did and why it doesn't go in there, because you have to connect it right here, and by the time you slide this on, well, then you've lost your wire here. So I'm going to see if I can do it differently and avoid that from happening, where the rubber stays inside this thing. It may be a fail, but then again, I may get it. Looks to me like all I'd have to do is just shorten them all by the amount that it's sticking out, pretty much. By the amount I want to go inside. And I want this to move to about here. So if we check the length of that, it's about 3.5 centimeters is about how far I want to move it. So that means you're going to have to cut 3.5 centimeters off of this to make it move that far. So that's what we're going to do. But before we do that, oh, I want to see here if they got this connected correctly. Yeah, they do. That's the white end of the silver, black end of the copper, and I think that's supposed to be green. I'm colorblind, but it's a weird color. So anyway, and that looks like that's probably the green one there. So, okay. So if we cut 3.5 centimeters off of this, we should be good to go. We cut these other ones off at that same length. Strip them, put them back in there. Hopefully it's going to work. If it doesn't work, then I've just wasted even that much more cable. This may not be easy because now the The wires are even shorter, so this may be hard to do, but I think I can get it done. I'm tempted to tin the ends of these, even though I know most of the time they don't want you to. Okay, well, here's the white one and there's the silver one, so they go together. Green one that goes to this one, I think. Can we get it in there? Yep. So far, so good. Making sure they're both really tight. Now, if I can get the black and in the copper one here, then we're in good shape. I think we did it. Obviously, you could break something like this, but you want them just as tight as you can get them to avoid heat. Looks like it'll go like that, I think. I think we're cooking with gas now, baby. I gotta be honest, clamping around that big rubber thing there ain't gonna be simple. But I think we can do it. No, I don't know if the screws are going to be long enough. Oh, I bet I have to take this off. I bet that's what it is. I just take it off. That's what it is. Or if not, I'm going to have to modify it. I'll try taking it off first and see if it's going to tighten up around it. I think it will. And it's squeezing it down real good and tight. You can see it compressed the cord around there really good and tight. Very solid now compared to what we had. It's not flopping. We don't need this piece because we're going around this big rubber thing, and that makes it, you know, this was here just to go around it when it had those wires exposed. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Hello friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Workshop. And as old Gomer Pyle might say, golly! Because I don't know what to say about this. Got all this neat stuff from a fella, a viewer. His name is George, and he's from Arlington, Massachusetts, it looks like. George has a business restoring woodworking machinery. It's called 3-Horse Woodworking Machinery Repair, specializing in the assembly, tuning, and repair of professional and home shop woodworking machinery. I'm sure you could probably Google him and find him. So, George, I want to thank you in advance here for all this nice stuff you sent me. My buddy Jeff Bradshaw at elderlyiron.com, he says when he runs into a problem he's never seen before, he says, I ain't never seen nothing like that before in my life. Well, that's kind of the way I feel about almost all this. I ain't never seen anything like all this stuff in my whole life. So here's what we got. Take a look. Well, most of this I really haven't seen before. I mean, it's not totally unknown or anything, but, you know, I still haven't really seen it before. Apparently, this is a carton of tear-off sandpaper, and in different grits, I assume. Yeah, it looks like it comes, they actually can pull out of this slot, apparently. So it's rolls of it, and you can stick them through this slot and pull them and tear them off, I guess. We got 150 grit up to 600 grit. And you can see here that they're showing using them on the lathe, which would be very handy. A picture of somebody turning something down on the lathe. Here's how I guess you're supposed to set the box up to tear it off and all that right there. But my goodness, that's really handy. Can always use sandpaper. So that's pretty cool. Thank you very, very much. Most of this revolves around sanding, as a matter of fact. I guess he sees me doing a lot of sanding, you know, and I do a lot of sanding. These are called sanding twigs, and again, never saw anything like them before. Don't believe I ever even heard of these. This, you know, apparently they're in different grits. I'm not sure how to tell the difference. Says they're washable. It's a quantity of 20. It's a variety pack. And that's about all it really says. Durasand is what it's called. And they're sanding twigs. And they've got sandpaper on both sides. And I don't know how to tell what the grades are on that, but it's pretty cool. And I'm sure those would be very handy in little tight places, you know. And they're flexible and the whole bit. Pretty cool. Not sure how I'll use that yet, but I'm sure I'll find someplace that they work. And then he sent a whole bunch of these little rubberized sanding grips, or sanding, you wrap sandpaper around them. And in the picture there, I think it's probably just as well to see that. You can see that they wrap sandpaper around it. You can reach up into tight places. You can sand round radiuses. They have different radiuses. They get one here that looks like it's only a 1/4 inch, up to radiuses that look like maybe 3/4 of an inch, something like that. And then on the other side, it has the contour, the inside contour, so you can put your sandpaper on it and sand like a dowel or something like that. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Everything's still in the package. I'm not even bothering to take it out right now because just have it all scattered everywhere, but really cool. So those are grips, and I can see how these rounded grips would be handy for sanding the contours of the neck, right up at the neck heel and things like that. So very, very neat. These are little spatulas or glue paddles. I have seen these before. I've never had any of them, but could be very helpful in spreading glue. I could see them actually more in terms of spreading things like epoxy and different things like that too, and even mixing epoxies and things. So that could be very handy as well. Pretty cool. Then he sent me a bunch of little pads, stick-on pads, and I use those on a number of different things that I make. These are cork with a sticky backing, and these feel like rubber with a sticky, like a soft rubberized foam with a sticky backing. And I found it amusing on both of these. On the back of the package it says, "Warning, cancer and reproductive harm. www.p65warnings.ca.gov." And that CA is California, I'm sure. So, you know, I don't know if the inside things are the things they're warning you about, or if it's the package itself. Who knows? Everything causes cancer if you eat enough of it. So there you go. But thank you. I'll sure put those to good use too. Then he sent a little needle point glue bottle, and that's very cool. I've got a couple of these, not quite like this one, not with a metal tip anyway. And that's really cool. I think this would be perfect for CA glue. I may just fill that full of CA glue. I really like that. I think for CA glue, that could just be awesome. Assuming the tip doesn't clog up, and I don't know if it will or not. But that's really cool. Then, these two things, I've never seen these before, ever. And really don't remember seeing them even in a catalog. They're called Sandits, 120 to 180 grit, and this one's the round one. It's like a Q-tip with sandpaper on it, is really what it amounts to. This is the round one. And I don't know how to tell which grit this is, though, unless it's stamped on here somewhere and I just don't see it. But I guess you're supposed to be able to feel the difference. I don't know. I can tell you the grit is rubbing off really a lot on my fingers. Just rubbing it like that, you can just see it coming off on my fingers. I don't know if you can, I don't know what the deal is with that. That's weird, it just kind of rubs off. Oh well, I've never seen anything like that before. I'm not quite sure how I would use that either, but it's, you know, that's the cool thing about getting stuff you don't know about. You can learn and find ways to incorporate it and make your life easier. And this is the same thing, it's just that the paddles are flat on the end rather than round like a Q-tip. Very, very cool, very, very cool. And it shows all kinds of applications here. jewelry, even sanding the spokes on a motorcycle, all kinds of things. So you can get into real detail places with this kind of stuff. That's really handy. I can see it maybe cleaning up tuning keys and different things like that. So George, thank you very, very kindly for watching my videos and for this wonderful care package that you sent. I really appreciate it, and I am positive you'll see it in some future video down the road, or at least pieces of it anyway. Thank you very much. Well, and to add on to this video, I didn't know I was getting this either, but I sure do appreciate it. I always can use deer antler. If you have deer antler and you can turn loose of it, please send it to me. I can use it all the time. This was sent to me from a viewer, Mr. Miller, and I'm not sure where he's from. All it has on his package is a zip code, 78621, so that's where he's located, wherever that is. But that's out west of here somewhere, probably Oklahoma or Nebraska or somewhere like that. I don't really know. More than likely, maybe even further south toward Texas, because he sent this cool picture of his front yard, and the bluebells are blooming there. You probably can see. And that's where he found the antler. He said in his note, he says, this is my front yard near the road. I found this antler in my front yard about 2 days after you said you were running out. He said, in the 20 years I've lived here, this is the only one I've ever found. So I must be psychic. I knew he was going to find it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Mr. Miller, and thank you very much for sending it to me. And the rest of you out there, if you've got deer antler laying around or you find a piece laying around somewhere, please send it to me. The main piece the main piece I need is this base down here. That's the best part for making the deer antler saddles. As a matter of fact, if the skull cap is attached, leave it attached, because that's the best part. There's another 1/2 inch right in here that's really solid, and when they're still attached, that is. And that's really the best part of the antler, is about right in here, like this. And so if you can send it to me, and if you need to, cut it in half to ship it, to, make it fold up, just cut it right between the antlers like this, and just cut it off down below here and right between, and that's all you need to do. And then you can fold them together and put them in a small box or whatever. But thank you very kindly. I appreciate it. Friends, I'm a very fortunate fellow. I get lots of wonderful presents from you all, and I really do appreciate it. Another viewer just sent me this, which is Flitz Polish. It's, he's concerned about the toxic part of the semi-chrome polish, and it does say, there's a caution on the back, and it says it's harmful or even fatal if swallowed. So you got to be concerned about things like that. I like the semi-chrome very much. I did already have a Flitz Polish, and I'd say half the bottle has been used. And this will come in handy too. So I want to thank Tori, and Tori's actually located in Norway. So that was quite an effort to, go online and find a U.S. supplier and have this sent to me. So thank you very kindly, Tori, for this kind gesture, and I'm sure you'll see it in an upcoming video. Well, friends, I can't believe it, but old Chuck sent me another huge load of stuff. My goodness. Let's just take a look at all the stuff that he's got here. We'll just turn the camera down so that you can see the whole table full. He gave me some very super sensitive, something like carbon paper, which is a great big roll of it. That'll be very handy. A bunch of sanding blocks, which there's fine and coarse, as you can see there. A really cool vise. I really like this vise. You can clamp it onto a table, and then this head pivots, and I guess it maybe it rotates, I'm sure, but I don't know if it does all kinds of good stuff here, which I haven't even figured all out yet, but we'll fix that baby up and possibly get that attached here to this table. I can definitely use that. no question. That's really nice. He gave me another little scraper here, which those are always handy. This is kind of cool. This little scratch-all tool, now he put this end on there. This end was laying loose in the box, but I figure it must have went on this end to keep you from killing yourself. So I guess that's what he had that in there for. Great minds think alike, as I said before. I have the same thing, and I just put a little wooden handle on one end of mine, and you know, I just use the one end. I never use the other end. But actually, his solution's better, I think. This is really nice. He sent me a whole bunch of abalone shell. There's got to be a couple ounces of it there, maybe a little more. That's really nice. That costs quite a bit of money right there if you have to replace that or go buy that. So thank you very, very much for that. This may find its way into the twin mandolin project, as a matter of fact. Or I made almost the exact same tool like this too. I think I have it over in my metal shop. And it's very sharp. Boy, he's got that thing just as sharp as it can be. That'll be very handy. And then I have almost the exact same tool here. Or well, I did have. I broke mine. And it looks to me like he was using it for very similar. It's been heated, so you can tell that he's been taking things apart with it or whatever. And this tool is a sound post adjusting tool. I've always just made mine out of coat hanger, but this will be really nice to have an official one here. What's kind of nice is you can push forward with it. You can push to the side with it because the post fits in these little notches, and you can even pull the post back with this. On this end, typically I see a real sharp point. Now his is made a little different there. I guess you could use that to hook into the post somehow, but I don't know. I'll have to test that one out. I haven't really seen one made quite like that. But there you go. That's going to be handy. And a very fine screwdriver. Those are always handy. I'm always using little tiny screwdrivers. This is nice. I have one exactly like this. This is a reamer. And I already have one like that. Mine's actually probably a little newer than his, or at least it looks like it, maybe. Pretty similar though. One I have there is not very old, but it never hurts to have another one. And this tool here, just a real sharp jack pointed little outfit. I'm not really sure how that would be used. But you know, a lot of these tools, you just, at the moment, you're looking for something. This could be the thing I'm looking for. You just never know. And then this one is a very strangely shaped end on it. I'm not exactly sure what he used that for. It may have been, he might have used it for scraping binding. That's kind of what I'm thinking it might have been used for. But I don't know for sure. And then this is a fret tang chomper here. Oh, it goes this way on this one. Every one of these things is made different, and they all are made backwards of what you expect. You put your fret across here and you squeeze it down and it would do the cutting there. Fret is made to fit in there. I'll have to look at this one. My nipper is made quite a bit different than this one. I'll have to see how this one works to see if it's better than what I have. The one I have works really well. And then another specialty tool, and I could see this for cleaning out the purfling grooves and things like that. Very handy. And then again, great minds think alike. He saved this and put oil in it, and I believe what this was a ink cartridge refill, is what this was, for refilling your ink cartridges on a printer. At least that's what mine were. They're made exactly like this. And apparently he's got the ink out and put oil in. That was a good idea. I didn't think to do that, but I've seen these and I've got some of these. And then a little swage block, I guess you'd say, or it's not really a swage block. This one's for drilling plumb holes, according to this. It's a drilling block. It's got holes drilled through it perpendicular so that you can set this on something, and then your drill, if you're drilling by hand, will be more straight up and down. So that's kind of handy. I've got a couple of these, I believe, and I think Tom Duran. I think Tom, when I worked on his, I think it was the, on that guitar that I repaired for Tom that had a great big hole in the middle of it. I can't think of it, was it a Washburn or what it was right now? But anyway, I repaired that, and he sent me a bunch of tools and some similar things like this. This apparently is some transfer paper. It must be something like carbon paper as well. Little pieces, smaller pieces. And then this was all loose and was stuck to this magnet, but these are blades, and I assume they went in this plastic case. That's the only thing I could see the plastic case was for. But these are long, like hooked blades, and those could be very handy. I thought it was odd, these two little bits were in the box also. I don't know if those were intentional or what, but I think that may have just been some extra bits. But believe it or not, that little piece I probably could find a use for, soldering it onto something else later. And then a little strap of leather, which is always handy. And some single edge razor blades in a little case. It's nice. And then I think this may have been a F-hole pattern that he was using on things, and apparently it got broken shipping, or I assume that because it was in two different pieces in the box. But I probably don't really have much use for that anyway, but it's kind of cool. Not exactly sure what that may have been or been a part of. It looks like it might have something to do with hole spacing or something. I'm not really sure. It's just a piece of paper with that design on it. And then this is apparently his inlay pattern for the mandolin that he has. It's scaled to fit for the peg head, it looks like. And then he sent me a whole bunch of little pieces of binding. This stuff is just handy for repair work whenever like I don't have any of this what I call mother of toilet seat, if you will. It's kind of like mother of pearl, but it's plastic, so we call it mother of toilet seat. And anyway, those old toilet seats back in the 50s had a lot of this in them. But so that'll be handy to have all that, and you never know when it'll come in useful on an instrument repair. And then some other, this is wood purfling here for a violin, and I do have quite a bit of that, but you never have enough of any of this stuff, you can always use more. So very handy. So Chuck, I just want to say thank you very much. Oh, I forgot to mention he had this magnet, and he says he uses this for a screw saver. And what's interesting, let me just show you really something about this magnet. See, I've got my steel vise here. If I set this magnet down, you would think, well, it'll just stick to it. It doesn't. You can see I can just lift it right up, no problem. But you turn it over, and man, does it stick. It's amazing. And I mean, it's really stuck. It's really tight. It really takes some pressure to pull that off of there. But this way, it doesn't stick at all. I think that's really cool. Doesn't stick at all that way. But this way it sure does. And it's a very tight stick. And one more kind of cool thing that was in the box there that Chuck sent me. And it looks like a Hawaiian gal on the pick, which is really cool. And it's that mother of toilet seat type plastic, which is really neat. But it looks like a really old vintage type pick. I really like that. That's cool. Now, that may not be politically correct anymore, but it's still a very cool, neat old item. Thank you, Chuck. So Chuck, old buddy, thank you very kindly for sending me your tools. I will try to keep them in use, and especially that vise and that abalone shell, those things especially. I really appreciate getting those. Those are very, very, very nice. And the rest of the tools are handy too, so I'll be using those, I'm sure, in future videos. Thank you very much, Chuck. Thanks for all the gifts I received. You guys are great. Thank you very much.